We welcome in our guy Brett into the program this morning. Brett, one of the questions we've asked our listeners, and they've answered in a variety of different ways, is following the Texas wins, have your expectations changed for this football team? So I'll relay that question to you. Have your expectations changed for 2021?
No, I mean, I still at the beginning of the season I said 5 to 7 wins, and you obviously hope that we're going to be close to that 7-win mark, and we were one step closer with a victory over Texas. But let's not forget, we started slow against Rice, and we'll see what will come out against Georgia Southern, and then we go into a really tough stretch down the road and some games not under our home crowd. So it's going to be interesting how we play moving forward. We've got to start fresh and finish strong. But if we play like we did against Texas, they put the map out there. If we play all 3 phases, great. That's what our performance looks like. Now, can we do it another game? Can we stack success? Can we be a top 25 team that can do it week in, week out? That's yet to be seen. I think that the coaching staff will get the players ready. I think our seniors are ready for that, but we still have to produce that on the field.
Brett, you've been a part of some big-time emotional wins at both the college and professional level. Following that week, how do you not have a lapse? How do you not stop and slow down a little bit? What's the biggest key for this team leading up to Georgia Southern on Saturday?
I think the biggest key for all these guys is to keep that chip on their shoulder, to realize there's a lot of people, the seniors, remember last year, nobody picked them really to win a lot of games. Same thing this year, nobody gave them a whole lot of respect. So those guys keep the chip on their shoulder, keep that humbleness, they'll be fine. And that's going to be the key, because we know Georgia Southern's got a quarterback that's coming off his suspension. He's going to be hot and ready to go. And again, even special teams, night and day difference. We give up the special teams play against Rice. We block a punt against Texas. What are we going to produce on the field? What is our week 3 production that we're going to do? And those guys have got to stay hungry. They've got to keep showing good things on the field, because it's going to intimidate some people and some people, but other teams, they're just going to be like, okay, this Arkansas team's legit, and we need to bump them up in the rankings.
So you touch on special teams there. I wanted to go and get your expertise on that. Arkansas had the fumble on the punt return early, got bailed out with replay because the player was out of bounds when touching the ball. So you fire your punt returner, you bring somebody else in. And other than that, they played almost flawless in special teams. Coverage was good. Give us your expert eye on what you saw the differences were this week versus what we've seen, say, for the previous 11 games.
Well, I think that this guy's finally buying in. Now, even on the punt block, it was not a punt block. It was we're going to set up into return, and when you do that, it's coaching, and they tell those guys, you've got to make sure the punt gets off. Well, we're sitting there, they bobble the snap, and he takes off and blocks the punt. And so it turns into a huge play for Arkansas, but that's just attention to details. That's the big key with special teams. It's all-out effort. You got to run full speed. You got to be attention to details, because offense and defense, Coach Zook used to tell them, they get first, second, and third down. Special teams, you get one. You get one try to go out there and to be great, and they were able to do that this week. And again, can we stack success? Let's don't get too overconfident going into this Georgia Southern game and just think that we're going to roll them over. We haven't shown that to opponents. We haven't been able to do that in years past, and of late. We did it to Texas, but can we do it 2 games in a row? And that's where we're going to build on those special teams moments, those guys buying in, to realize that field position that we always talk about, that hidden yardage, how much it plays into getting momentum into a game like that.
You mentioned field position. Calva Russo kicking off put 7 of his 9 kickoffs, and 9 kickoffs is an amazing number, into the end zone, out of the end zone for touchbacks. And Cam Little gets 4 field goals, one with a little bit of assistance from the upright, but nonetheless, Brady got 4 through the pipes.
Yeah, 4 through the pipes, and at the end of the day, it's all about that make or miss stat that they look at, and those things are big. A lot of people, they get down when you get a field goal. They think that you should score a touchdown, but I've heard it all week, and people are correct. You're trying to get to that 2-score lead, that 3-score lead, and it's all about points and momentum. Keep everything going in the right direction for your football team. And you look across the board, if the kicker's doing it, that's where you go to. The next week, your offense may do it. And then you go back to a kicker, or you go to your defense and the special team. So it all plays hand in hand on the field position and just putting points on the board, because even though it's not 7, it still is momentum building in your direction that you need to go to, and it's taking time off that clock as you're going on that scoring drive as well.
Brett Goode with us here on the Morning Rush. Brett, I don't know if you listened to Aaron on the Pat McAfee show yesterday and how he threw his first interception, got hit where no man wants to get hit, but their performance against the Saints, I was throwing water bottles. I was not happy as they had really the worst performance of week number 1. What kind of expectations do you have for the Packers in week 2 against the Lions?
Well, I saw a stat that if you back up as many times as he did and you just throw the ball in the dirt, you actually would have a better quarterback rating than he did. So I know that he's going to be ready. They didn't play in a lot of those guys didn't play in preseason. They had 4, offensive linemen that started in new positions, but their defense, didn't do a whole lot either. So it's a long season. They're going to have to kind of bounce back quick because, you've got to get another win moving into this season. Even though we're 17 games, you need a win. They're going to open up Monday night at home. And so hopefully they can take that step and build off of that and kind of make people think and believe they're the team of last year. Now, they also have some pressure on them because if they don't go out and perform well, then there's going to be a lot of people, talking, is Aaron done or is he trying for the season and stuff like that, which I don't think that he would ever do. But I think that they're going to be ready and prepared for this week moving forward.
Saul Adam Schefter is reporting that Eric Bieniemy is potentially a candidate for the USC job. The Chiefs get just a spectacular win coming back against the Cleveland Browns in week number 1. Are they still the team that you suspect that will find themselves in the Super Bowl this year?
I think from the AFC, yes. I think that they've shown that they've got a good defense. They've got great special teams, and they've got a great offense. And you put those 3 together, you're going to be special. You also look on the NFC side. In the Rams, after week 1, they're probably the best performance, on total performance, because they beat a very good Bears defense, and they kind of threw it all over the field. Matt Stafford has never had these kind of targets with an offensive-minded head coach that he has in Sean McVay. So it's going to be interesting as we move forward because they play in a tough division out there in the NFC West, and the Chiefs. Who knows? I mean, the Raiders pulled a squeaker out in overtime, so. When you get in these division games moving forward, it changes some things up, and it's going to be kind of who comes down to home field advantage now that we've got a crowd this year. Everything's different than it was last year where offenses were scoring a lot more points and the crowds weren't really affecting these games. Now the crowds are affecting them. They've got to go to silent count, and they've got to move through these processes. So it was a great week 1, and it's going to be exciting to see as we move forward into week 2 and deal with some of these COVID issues and injuries as they move on down the season.
Now, this article I'm looking at, because you're talking about the Packers start, and you want to avoid that 0-2 start. It got me thinking about an old stat I'd heard, and I googled it real quick. This article's a couple years old, written in 2019, but probably the numbers are still good. There's only been 5 teams that ever started 0-3 that made the playoffs. So unless it happened last year, and I don't remember, your odds of getting there are pretty slim. So obviously that we're going into week 2, not week 3, but that's what you're trying to avoid, because really you can seal the fate of your season is what I know based on history if you don't find a win in your first 3 weeks.
And that's exactly right. Those statistics that they've held up for a long time, and people were talking about that even with the Ravens. You look at them, they're on their 5th string running back. Everybody's got an ACL injury. I think they've had like 6 or 7 ACLs. So they're having tons of injuries. Lamar's not playing great. He played a good ball game, but he just didn't finish it out. And so you look at that, you look at the Steelers, there's a lot of people talking about Big Ben. He was the worst performer, Pro Football Focus came out there and said all this stuff about him. So these guys, everything's kind of their backs are against the wall. You're going into week 2, and you want to get that win now, because if you go into week 3 and you end up having a tough opponent and you can't pull it out, statistically it's harder to get to the playoffs. And that's just the reality of the sport and your team. So it's very important to stay focused this week, and it's the same thing for Arkansas. We're so early in the season for NFL and college. Mm-hmm. Stay focused. You hear Saban talk about all the time. The great teams, they stay focused, they're prepared, and they're ready to play in that next week and get things moving in the right direction.
I saw you and your wife before the game last Saturday as we got ready for Arkansas, Texas, and you played in a lot of big atmospheres in the NFL. You played in quite a few in college. You played in a Super Bowl, obviously as big as it gets. How does the college atmosphere and what we saw Saturday with Arkansas and Texas, which was a great atmosphere, how does that compare to the pro game? I mean, you've been on both sides. You're one of the few guys we can ask that. How did Saturday's atmosphere in Fayetteville compare to what you saw at the next level?
That atmosphere would be up there, would be contending for the NFL. The difference of college and NFL is a lot of colleges tend to you go down, and then you play at Texas, you have almost a max capacity where you make a record, and then the next week you play Georgia Southern. No disrespect to them, but the crowd's not going to be as big. The fans aren't going to be out there in droves like they were for the Texas. So that's the biggest difference. But everybody was involved. That's what was so enjoyable about the Texas game. People were into every single play, even on the special teams. Even when the punters drop the snap and we start running, we're going to block it. The crowd's erupting because they can see it unfold, and that's kind of when you get in those good NFL teams and those good stadiums where they are into every play. They're behind the team. And I think as long as we keep doing that, regardless of how many people we have in the stand, you just be into the football game, it helps that team out. It really does. It gives you an advantage. We talked all week last week, the 3 to 7 point advantage it gave you being on the home crowd. And, think about what that might do against a lower ranked opponent of a Georgia Southern. And, could that be 10 to 14? Who knows? But teams like that are not used to playing in front of crowds like Arkansas. So we've got to take advantage of it and just be involved the whole time.
Certainly was a special night for everyone that was there, and even those watching at home could probably feel that coming through the TV. Brett Goode joins us every Wednesday here on The Morning Rush, former Razorback, Super Bowl champion with the Green Bay Packers. Brett, you're now part of the winning team at Henderson Phillips. We've been talking for weeks now that companies are looking for insurance plans for their companies for 2022, whether it's health insurance or maybe even just your property insurance. You can take care of everything someone needs, because as you're trying to hire and attract and retain your best employees, benefits matter more than ever right now.
They do. It's so hard to get employees and get good employees right now, and you want to make sure that you have a great benefit package to keep the ones that you've got and kind of attract some new ones, maybe pull them over from somebody else that kind of expand your business and make your business grow. And so we've just been going, every day, just looking at people's ratings, making sure they're getting the right, ratings on everything that they're getting on the ancillary products, the health and dental and vision. So it's been a good success so far, and hopefully we can continue to move forward.
Just a phone call away to talk to Brett about it, 651-2292. That's 651-2292 for Brett Goode with Henderson Phillips. All right, enjoy the games this weekend. We'll talk to you next Wednesday.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
It's that time of the year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all of the pro and college football action this season. Get all of the updated odds, props, and contests, including the online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest, the world's largest 200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Here's what you have to do. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.